So we're going to make this scene, and we're actually going to use quite a lot of modifiers. If you're a total beginner, I think you can still follow it, but it will take you a bit longer. So this might be a little bit more catered to people who already understand at least all the modifiers and just can model out of themselves a few basic stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to model the toothpaste tube here. I'm going to use a different end here. And you can see it in our video. See, it's very basic, so it's not hard, and this texture you can download underneath. So let's get this to the side, and first thing we're gonna do is let's just create a cylinder, and I'm gonna get rid of this face and just extrude this to the top, scale it up a little bit, and then scale around the x-axis to make it more flat, as you can see. And let's give this a subdivision surface here, and also a smooth modifier, just so we can get the first shape down, right? I might put them a bit more together, and I'm gonna fill these up. So, and I'll keep these ends apart, okay? Don't fill them up yet. So I'm gonna fill these up until here. Then I'm gonna create another edge loop and move the bit to the top, so GZ. And now I'm just gonna fill these up with triangles. I know everyone is scared for triangles, but it's not that bad. Now it's a very basic model. Very cool. So now you can change the size that you want. We're not gonna see it anyways, like this end, so don't put too much time in it, but you can always add an extra edge loop and just scale it a little bit to make it more full. Maybe scale this one a bit down, you know, so it's more of the kind of shape that we want. Very cool. I would personally also go into here and then just scale these ones up around the y-axis a bit. Scale y. Maybe this one as well. Not too much, just a little bit. Okay, so let's just say that's done. I'm gonna make our bottle top here, so Shift D and then P and selection, so this will separate your selection, as you saw. And now we can just work with this separated selection. Extrude Z, extrude, and then just scale a bit down. Extrude Z, extrude, scale down, extrude Z, scale down, and create an edge loop here in the middle, and then you scale them down. So you can see that this kind of creation we can make very easily. We're going to give this a solidify modifier. We're going to put it above the subdivision, okay? And you can change the thickness that you want, so I would look in here and look at the thickness that we are going to create. So it's hard to see, but if you're actually going to get this another edge loop, you can see kind of the thickness that we're going for. This is not too important in this case, it's just a little side piece. So around here will be good, and just create some extra edge loops around these edges to make them more sharp. Here. And you can change this one here to whatever you want. So around here will be good in my opinion. And then I'll scale this one also a little bit down. So something like this is okay. If you want to go really more elaborate into how it really looks like in real life, then you should take some reference pictures, but yeah, I'm not going into that too much, because otherwise this tutorial is going to be way too long. So let's give this some textures, right? So I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to select this side. It will select it all the way through here, but I'm actually going to hide off these last few vertices here. So if I now do on Ctrl E, I can mark seam and select everything and then U unwrap. So what happens is, if we go into our UV editor, you can see that we have unwrapped this. And you can see that our UVs are being shown here in the UV editor. We can open our texture, which will be this one. You can see that the UVs just don't line up with the texture, and I want like the whole texture to fit in our UVs. But let's give this tube a material. Let's go into shade editor, create a new material, add a image texture, and we're just gonna open the one that we opened in here. What also is happening here is that the UVs are just not straight, and this happens a lot, especially with curved models or cylinders. The way that you do this is you're just gonna select all of these here, and then do scale x0. You can see that they all match up, right? So now the only thing you have to do is select the next row and then just Shift R. And what Shift R does, it just repeats your last action. And now you should do this top. So as you can see, you can also click on Alt and select it. What this does, it selects the whole edge loop. It doesn't work for the top because the edge loop keeps going. Okay, so this so click the one underneath, scale Y0, enter, and now you can do this for all the other ones. So Shift R, Shift R, Shift R. And for the last ones, we just need to select them by themselves. So just select them here. Like that, and this one as well. Very, very cool. So now you can scale this to wherever it fits you. You gotta be careful because these are letters and numbers and stuff. That if you scaled around the y-axis, it could change a little bit of the thickness of them. This is not our centerpiece anyways. We're gonna move this to the side. Let's first finish these materials. So this will be the toothpaste, tube, and this will be the toothpaste lid, I guess. Toothpaste. It's gonna be really easy. For the toothpaste tube, I'm just gonna put the roughness down to 0.1, and that's literally it. And for the lid, I'm also gonna do a very, very easy material. Let's just put the roughness a bit down, 0.2, and the base color, you can play a little bit around with that. You can make it a bit more light or whatever. It doesn't really matter. So this is our tube. It's very easy to make, and we can give this a collection. Toothpaste. Put them in here, and now we can hide it and work on our marshmallow. So as you can see, our marshmallow was twisted, right? So I can maybe get this up here again. You can see that it's twisted around, and it's not that hard to make, but we need a little bit of preparation. So we first look at how many sides it has, and I can get my other file up here, and it actually has 4 of these circles, right? And we're gonna create a plane, and this is gonna be where these will be spawned. Okay, so I want our cylinders to be spawned on those spots, but we're not gonna do it with cylinders. We're actually gonna do it with another plane. Okay, so let's go into top. I'm gonna select the point here and click on Shift S and then do cursor to select it. So now whatever we place here, it will be placed on the cursor, right? So Shift A, mesh and plane. So here is our first plane. Now we go back into this main plane, select this here, Shift S, cursor to select it, and add another plane. Go back here, Shift S, cursor to select it, add another plane, and the last one, Shift S, plane, cursor to select it, and plane. So we can kind of delete this this little plane here that we created in the beginning, and these can be joined. So Ctrl J, and I will personally just get rid of these faces, so only faces, And what this does is it just gives us these vertices with lines. If you select them all, you can extrude them. Very cool. So yeah, this extrusion just depends on how far you want it and all that stuff, but we're gonna array it anyways. So let's give this a subdivision surface. And you can see what it does. It immediately makes it round, right? We're also gonna add another modifier, which is simple deform. And here we want to twist it, right? And we want to twist it around the z-axis. But we can see that if we twist it, it twists around this point. And that is because if you look at the little orange point here, that is our origin. If you do Shift C, then we can see that our 3D cursor is perfectly in the middle, and we want our origin to be there. So if you go into Object, you can actually set the origin to the 3D cursor. So now the origin, the little orange dot, is here. Okay, and you can see that it all rotates nicely around it. Let's also give this a smooth shading. So now we can change, with the simple deform, we can change the angle that we need. So we of course want to give this more vertices because it's not really round as we want it. But I will do it here. So I'm gonna give each one of these, let's do around 10 loop cuts. Something like that. And we're gonna do it for all of them. So I'm just gonna click Ctrl R, click on them, and then right click to go away, and then I can type in here 10. Okay, that's already way better. So you can obviously see that we can see through this, and we don't want that. So we want to inflate them. And you can go into edit mode and click on Alt S. This will just inflate the model here. And just put it to where you think seems fit. You can also change the angle if you don't want it to go this far, right? You can just play around with this, to be honest. So look whatever you think is more realistic, or whatever you seem fit for your model right now. This is a little bit too short for us, so I'm actually also gonna give it an array modifier, and we're gonna array it on the z-axis 1 and merge them together. So with this, you gotta be careful that they match up good, okay? So there are some values that work better than other values, as you can see. So I'm just gonna put it all the way to the right. And if you think it twists too much, you can always scale this a bit up, okay? That's also a very, very good option. So let's give it a count of 3. And now it's time to make this come out of a tube, as we can see here, right? So out of our toothpaste. And let's get our toothpaste in here. And I'm gonna move this a bit around. So I'm gonna go to my front view, rotate this, and let's say we want it to come out of here. Let's put a camera also there. So click on 0. So you go into your camera view, then lock camera to view, and you just put your camera in whatever you want. So I think around here looks cool. Let's keep it here for right now. And we want our marshmallow to come out of that, right? So we're gonna add a curve, and I'm just gonna do a path. So our marshmallow will move around this path. I can see that this rotation is not good. The arrows go this way. So I'm gonna rotate this for 180 degrees. Yes. And then I'm gonna go into the front view again. And we want this marshmallow to come out of here. And I think it's very good to look at this with your camera view, so you can see how your marshmallow moves, because we want to fill up the scene a little bit, right? So it'll probably be something like this. And then we might move this a bit more up. You know, play around with this a little bit. There's no right or wrong, just play around and you'll have some fun. And that should be a song. So yeah, our marshmallow will move around this here right now. So let's get our marshmallow into here. And you can see that it's a bit too big, so I'm gonna scale it down around here. And I'm gonna add a new modifier, which is gonna be the curve. and we want to follow this curve here. So we can see that it doesn't really line up. We can change this curve modifier with choosing the axis. So the z-axis seemed to work in my case. And you can see that it moves from here to here, which is very, very cool. I think it's a bit too big, so I'm gonna make it a bit smaller and maybe put an extra array in here. Because we want it to go from nothing, which will be here, all the way to here. So as you can see here, we can see that it gets smaller, right? It goes from small and then it expands. And you can already see this little case around here, and this is essentially just a lattice. So I'm gonna add a lattice in here. And this lattice we can move towards the entrance of our toothpaste lid. And here in the lattice mode, you can change some stuff. So we can give this some more resolution, and we can scale it, of course. So I'm gonna move it around here. And if you go into edit mode, you can actually select these points by themselves. You can also select them with all the other tools that you have. So C, B, and I'm gonna scale this down around here. And let's just look what this does right now, okay? So we're gonna select our marshmallow and then add a new modifier. As I said, we have a lot of modifiers, and we're gonna use the lattice modifier. So this only works with lattices, and we just created that one. And you can see that the lattice just like squashes our shape, right? So does it fit inside? Not yet. So we can change our lattice also now. Works in real time, so we can just scale this down till it fits. Try to make everything fit inside the lattice, and this is just playing around a little bit with your forms. We can of course also just move our toothpaste bottle a little bit, like it's okay like this. So what happens now is if we move this, and with me it's around the z-axis, we can see that it gets out of our toothpaste tube. So because our curve modifier mine is set at the z, I just have to move this around the z-axis. So what happens is this just gets moved, and because we are following this curve, then it moves around the curve. So that's literally it. And that's also how we're gonna animate this. So if we get a timeline up in here, timeline, then our first frame will be without everything inside, right? So GZ, and then E, location. So our location of this is a 0, is at frame 1. And then at, let's do like frame 65, we want it to be at the end, which will be around here. And then E, location. So in this time, it will just go around there. Very, very cool. We need to change one or two more things. We're almost done. The first thing is I don't want these ends to look like this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna apply our array modifier. And you can see that our simple modifier works on this way longer model right now instead of it being arrayed. So we need to change this angle. So I just put the angle of the simple modifier a little bit higher, and now we have the rotation back. But what we can do now is we can essentially just fill these faces up here. So if I fill this one up, this one, this one, this one, and also on the top, you can see that we get a nice and smooth shape, which these marshmallows have, of course. So now we have a better shape in the bottom. It's still, the animation still works. I think we should put this end also just at 65 because yeah, that's the end of our animation. We just do not want to make it show up here, right? So if we have a little studio, let's add a plane. Extrude this up here. Just gonna give this a bevel with Ctrl B. and shade smooth. We will see that it will end up here. Very cool. But we need to get rid of this. So I'm just gonna create a cube. I'm gonna scale it up. G, Y, and I'm just gonna place it here. So you can make it big. It doesn't really matter. Just make it as big as this. And what happens now is we're gonna boolean this. So we're gonna select our marshmallow and we're gonna add a boolean tool. So boolean, select our cube, and what happens now, if we hide our cube, you can see that we don't see our marshmallow underneath because it's being cut off, right? One thing though, if you now render it, you will see the cube. Okay, so you gotta select this cube, go into the object tab, go to visibility, and put show in renders off. Okay, so now it won't show up in the renders. So I personally am going to create the materials right now for the marshmallow, and I'm gonna do this in cycles, and let's give it a render preview. So yeah, we see that the lighting is not really the best. If I move this to the right, we can see it a little bit better. I think we can work with this. So let's select our marshmallow, click on plus, and we just do the pink first. So pink marshmallow. I wrote it wrong, but whatever. So we wanted a pink color. Around here will be good. Maybe a bit brighter. And I gave this a subsurface, so 0.1. Roughness will be a bit up, so 0.75. And I also gave this a sheen. This already looks way more like a marshmallow, but what I really like to do is give this also some bump detail. So I'm gonna get a bump node in here. Normal goes into the normal, and a noise texture. So what's gonna happen here is this noise texture, this fact of the noise texture will go into the height. And you can see that we have all this bump detail already. So one problem here, it's also already, it's stretched. See, all this bump detail is just stretched down. So what I want to do is I go into here and create a texture coordinate. I'm gonna do the object into the vector. So this already gives us way less stretching, so that's already very, very nice. I want the scale to be a bit up, so maybe around 140, something like that. So we can see the detail in here. It's just a bit deep, so I'm gonna add a color ramp in here. Color ramp. This color ramp goes between the noise texture and the bump node. And so this is our black value and this is our white value. If we just put this black value to a little bit less black, so a bit more into the gray area, then they will go less deep. So that's a very easy and nice technique to do that. I kind of also want some different kind of bumps in here as well. So now we have these small bumps, but it would be very nice if we have some randomness in big ones as well. So I'm just gonna duplicate this noise texture and then put the object to this vector as well. And let's do this at around 12, and I'll put the detail a little bit up, so 2.5, something like that. So what's happening here is, let's put this into the, into the height node. You can see that these are way bigger details, right? So we want to make it work way less because this is just too much. So I'm gonna add a color ramp in here as well. And this color ramp is gonna be, yeah, a little bit brighter. Here. So of course you can see that it's still too much, but we also need to change this strength anyways. So I'm gonna put this at 0.2, and now we have, yeah, some nice randomness in here, but we want to mix these two together, right? It's not, we want these small bumps and these big bumps. So I'm just gonna select this all and move it a bit back, and I'm gonna add a mix RGB node. Goes in here, we can mix these colors, and I'm just gonna put on add, so we add them both together, and we have our small detail. And maybe I put this a little bit more gray, so we have a little bit more of a big details in here. And this will be our marshmallow material. Very cool. So we of course also want another material in here, which will be the yellow marshmallow. So we're just going to duplicate this, and you can see that there's no option, the 2 is gone. So I'm just going to cheat this a little bit. I'm going to select this backplane, select this pink marshmallow, and just click on 2. Now we're going to rename this at yellow marshmallow. And the only thing that you have to change is this to a yellow color. And when you actually go into your material tab, you can add an extra material to your already existing model. So you have multiple materials per model. And the way to edit this is if you select the vertices that you need. So I'm just going to expand this and assign them to this new material, which is going to be yellow marshmallow. Assign them to it. Now they will have that material. So we essentially assigned those vertices to that material. Very, very cool. The only thing that is a bit wrong now is then this backplane. Let's just click on 2 again, and let's just do studio or whatever. I'm gonna delete all of this. And let's just give this a nice and pink color. And if we look now, or if we render it quickly, and as you can see, we of course have to do something with our lighting. It's causing these problems, and it just doesn't look that good anymore. I will leave you guys to that. And the last thing that I will teach you guys, that this toothpaste tube will get squeezed together to get that marshmallow stuff out, right? As you can see, it gets squeezed together. So it's quite easy to do that actually. Let's go in here. We're gonna select our toothpaste tube. We have some nice subdivisions on here, and I'm gonna add a displacement modifier. So with this displacement modifier, we're just gonna create a new texture, and the texture will end up in here, right? So this is the texture that we are using, and right now we are just using nothing. That's black. That's why it's giving this. If we put this to cloud, you can see some major changes happening. We can move this cloud texture up around here, and of course make the strength way lower. So around here will be good. So what will happen is over time we will just put the strength up. It will start at 0 and the strength goes up. The one problem is that the strength also moves this around, right? And that just doesn't look good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna extrude this and then scale it a bit down. Create another edge loop here. So you can see that in the displacement modifier we can add a vertex group. So this way the displacement modifier will only work on those vertices. So I'm gonna select all of this and give this a vertex group. So go into here, object data, create a vertex group, and assign this to the group. So this selection will be assigned to it. Then we go in here, and we're gonna select this vertex group, and you can see that this does not move. Okay, so what happens is at frame 1, we have a strength of 0. And at frame 65, we look a strength that looks nice and doesn't look too much. And we can always go in here, right, and just change this scale a little bit. And switch between these two to find the perfect way to squeeze this. So let's also click on right click and insert the keyframe here. And if you play it, you can see that it goes from here. And then the further our marshmallow goes out, the more this will be squeezed together. So I hope you guys learned a lot from this. Yeah, that's it. So peace out.